Fantasy Source Baseball Podcast. My name is David A. Arnott, sitting here with Matt Lutovsky. Just a reminder, baseball podcasts are going to be on Thursdays, and now that we're into glorious football season, and it's looking more and more like we'll have a football season, those podcasts will be on Tuesdays on Fantasy Source Football. Matt, you also write for football.
Yes.
You'll be joining us over there soon enough. But for baseball, we're headed into the home stretch. I believe it was the immortal Billy Beane who coined the phrase, you spend the first 2 months figuring out what you have, the next 2 months figuring out getting what you need, and then the last 2 months you just win and beat everyone.
That's the plan. That's the goal. And I think too many fantasy owners don't realize that soon enough. And they're kind of in this constant state of, he'll come around, or this guy will do this. And then before you know it, it's mid to late August, and your season's almost over.
So today we're going to be talking about guys that were almost certainly drafted, many of these guys, at the beginning of the season. And you know what? We're nearing the end of July.
Yeah.
We're nearing the end of July. The real-life trade deadline is approaching. A lot of fantasy deadlines are then. A lot of fantasy trade deadlines are also at the end of August. But we're saying don't even wait till then. You really ought to be considering dropping these guys now.
Yeah, and the first one, I've been getting questions about this guy for at least a month, Adam Dunn. And at this point, you can say he's going to hit more homers. You can say he's going to improve because he almost can't do worse. But, yeah, big deal. Like, he stinks.
Been saying that for 2 months.
Right, there's no getting around it. He stinks. He just doesn't look good. The advanced stats aren't good. Nothing's good. And, yeah, he'll hit some homers, and that's about it. But there's a lot of guys who are on your waiver wire right now who will hit some homers, too. And I just don't think he's worth hanging on to at this point.
Realistically, we just saw Brandon Allen get called up to the Diamondbacks, and that's in a good ballpark, and he's got undeniable power coming out of the minor leagues.
Kyle
Blanks just got called up today, I believe, and he's going to be coming up even in Petco Park with the Padres, right? Even then, you got to say, you know what? That's an equal opportunity to what Adam Dunn is probably going to give you, considering just how bad Dunn has been all year.
Yeah, and you don't have to go far to find another one of these candidates. You just look across the clubhouse, you'll find Alex Rios, another guy I've been getting questions about for a month, 2 months. It's another guy who just hasn't been good. He's just been terrible. And the interesting thing with him is that he's been terrible for full seasons before. It's not like, wow, he's got this. Dunn is about as consistent as you can get for what he does. Alex Rios, though, has been bad before, and he was very, very nice player to own last year. But he's just bad this year. He's not that good. He's not stealing bases. And you can wait around for him, and you can say, well, I don't know if this guy I'm picking up is better. But if that guy's hot, there's 2 weeks, a 1 week, 2 week stretch where he's been hot, you're probably better off. And then if you have to drop him in 2 weeks, pick someone else up, so be it. But I think Rios is a guy who's dead weight right now.
I feel like Dunn, Rios, and to even a greater extent, Sean Figgins over in Seattle, like you just get rid of them and you figure their season-long stats don't even look all that good to begin with, Figgins and Dunn especially. But then there's a different class of guy that's a little bit different from them. And that's someone like Alfonso Soriano, who had a monster first month.
Right.
And his total season stats still look halfway decent, but he just hasn't been good for a long time.
Right, and I saw someone in our experts league.
That would be me.
Right, you just dropped him, and I saw his name. I was like, hey, Soriano's on the... And I'm like, oh, yeah, wait, and he's not that good.
Yeah, I think he's got 14 home runs.
Right, and then you kind of do that math, and that's... Soriano's a guy with name value, but you also have to think about this, too, with guys who you picked up early on. They were nice early season surprises, but now they're regressing. They're going back to the mean, as often happens. And one of the guys I just dropped today to pick up Kyle Blanks was Lance Nix. He was a nice guy to own, especially when he was facing right-handed pitchers. He was hitting homers, and he was doing well, but he still can't hit lefties. He's got an Achilles problem. There's really no point in owning him anymore. And, I bid him adieu. I thank him for the 10 home runs he hit for my team, and we're going to move on. And another candidate for that is Matt Joyce. This guy was an all-star. This guy was as hot as anyone in May. He's hit under 175 in June and July so far. That's really bad. And
Are you saying that he filed a Ben grievance this season?
Yeah, and he'll mix in like a homer and a stolen base and to kind of make you think, oh, no, he's still good. He's still fine. He's really not. And I don't know if you want to outright cut him, but at the very least, you can find an alternative, keep him on your bench if he gets hot again. But guys like that, don't be married to those guys you picked up in April and were great in April and May, because it doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is what they're going to do going forward.
See, I can see fantasy owners developing an attachment to Matt Joyce, Lance Nitz, because they were the ones who dug them up. And you know what? Like, I'm showing all of you how smart I was to pick up this guy and you that. And I got that 360 May average or whatever it was that Joyce put up. But then I see on your list here some more, I guess, more controversial guys. Someone like, I don't know, I guess Brian Roberts is someone that has an injury issue that's not readily apparent. He's had concussion problems. I saw that he went to go work out for the Orioles and developed a migraine, which is super scary for someone who you're hoping to get in there and have 10 home run, 20 steal potential throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think these DL guys, it's always an interesting thing with DL guys because they don't hurt you if they're on your DL. That's great. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Throw them on there and see what happens. But they hurt you when you have other guys on the DL and you're eating a roster spot. And I think at this point in the year, you're looking at like a Justin Morneau, Brian Roberts, Johan Santana. I've been saying this since April. There's no reason to have Johan Santana on your team. Even if he does pitch, he could be rusty. I think it's a long shot he does pitch. Guys like that. You know, earlier this week we had the Steven Strasburg little mania. He might make a start in September and that whole thing. And these guys, to me, especially if you need that roster spot, cut them loose because eating a roster spot for the next month or however long it is, that could really hurt you.
I mean, in keeper leagues, obviously, you got Strasburg and Josh Johnson. Go ahead. But, I mean, God bless, move forward, keep them on your team until next year. Right. But then someone like Johan, Brian Roberts, like they're not going to be worth a high draft pick anyway next year.
I think Josh Johnson's the toughest one. Because I'm not convinced he hasn't even started throwing yet. I'm not convinced he's pitching again this year. Why would he if the Marlins are out of it? There's really no reason to. And he's a tough guy to let go because he's so good, and you know he's good when he comes back. But again, if you need a Russ, you have to get stats. There's no moral victories. There's no, but if I would have had Josh Johnson, this isn't a hypothetical. It's about actual production.
Also, separate the emotion from it. I mean, like, you may not even be a fan of the Marlins, but there is an emotional component to saying, I'm letting go of Josh Johnson. I'm afraid that he's going to come back at the beginning of September and have 4 no-hitters in that month and like with 20 strikeouts in each game, and I'm going to look like a fool because I could have had that. Well, you know what? Odds are, if he does that, that one in a cajillion shot does something along those lines, or throws 4 straight shutouts, whatever, that's within the realm of reason, then nobody could have predicted that.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like, if somebody picks him up, then that's just the way it worked out. You still made a right decision.
Well, it's like Mr. Burns says on The Simpsons. You have to play the percentages. It's what smart managers do to win ball games. And you just got to look at that. This guy's hurt. He's not playing. Find someone who's playing.
So someone who's on a significant number of rosters right now, but probably the wave hasn't yet caught up to them that they're going to be dropped. Who are you looking at? Maybe in the future that's going to be one of those guys?
Well, I think a couple interesting guys, like we were talking about, these early season guys who then kind of hit the skids, Ryan Roberts and Darwin Barney. They've come back, though, in July, and they've been playing pretty well. But those are the kind of guys you have to watch for. If they hit that wave again where they start going back down, don't be afraid to cut them because it's all about what they do going forward, not what they did in the past.
And keep in mind also, you're going to have to keep an eye on those managers because, especially with the Diamondbacks, I have no idea what Kirk Gibson is doing with his team starting. Now that Stephen Drew's out, it might get cleared up a little bit, but he's been starting Sean Burrows and Jeff Blum at third base.
Loves Willie Bloomquist, who's going to be playing every day now, probably.
Or the 1,000, 1,100 OPSing in AAA Cody Ransom.
Yes.
If you're going to Cody Ransom to be your everyday shortstop, you've got a problem.
You do, but that's why we play fantasy baseball.
Exactly. Matt, thanks for joining us.
All right.